Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Market Check, brought to you by. Hold on, let me mute Jackets real quick. Hope everybody's having a great day. Happy Tuesday. Another wild day for markets, right? Maybe not quite as wild as some of the last few that we've had, but kind of a reverse, right? I mean, it's kind of been like these minus 4 to 5% days. Yesterday we had whipsaws. Today we had 4 to 5% green on the indices. Where do we go from here? I think the title is very appropriately named. Equities bouncing. Will they stick the landing? Because really, I mean, it's probably still true that equities are going to be driving the price action of everything and all this. But guys, like I said, welcome to Market Check. I'm Tommy. You also know me as Snorlax, joined by Max, Jackus, and of course it's Tuesday, Louis Tuesday. I always get to give the special introduction to Louis on Tuesdays. But before we can get started, guys, before we can start breaking down price action, market thoughts, everything in between, gonna need you guys to smash the like button. Smash the like button like they've kind of smashed the VIX over the last 24 hours. And if you guys do that, I think we're going to have a pretty nice like button today. I mean, the VIX went from, what was it, like 60, 61, all the way down to 37 this morning. Whether or not that landing sticks, right, is probably going to drive the price action of everything else today. And really, for the rest of the week, probably into the end of the month. Let's go ahead and get into it, though, right? I mean, Bitcoin and ETH kind of gave us a little bit of a move in Asia. But given how quickly we moved down on Sunday into Monday's open, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that we're seeing a little bit of a pullback right now, a little bit of chop. And I think that would happen either way, right? If we're going to move lower, if we're going to move higher, it makes sense that we're seeing kind of these crypto majors begin to trade sideways. Locally speaking, a lot of that positioning, more or less has been unwound, and we have to add new positions in, right, before we can officially trend again. So yeah, we are seeing a little bit of a pullback from Asia's move in crypto. Select alts, of course, as always, showing some strength. I'm looking at something like Fartcoin, Hyperliquid. It's so funny to me. Like, how many times I have to say Fartcoin on a mostly serious show about markets will just never not be funny to me, right? And we've kind of discussed why it's important, though. When people want to bid something, it's kind of becoming that go-to, along with things like Hyperliquid. Like I said, XRP, I think, is in that boat as well, kind of showing relative strength against the market. These can probably still be our proxies to assess risk in crypto outside of Bitcoin and ETH, because we all know, I mean, just look at that. Look at the Bitcoin price action that Max has on display right now. It's very, very choppy to watch Bitcoin and ETH these days, unless you're looking at it very, very high time frame. Of course, equities, like I was saying, I mean, at one point we were 4 to 5% green on the day. We'll see what happens. What happens there? I think getting the VIX to be smashed and hold below 40 is ultimately going to be very important for legacy markets. And if you can do that, I think you open the door for probably a longer and more extended rally. And of course, I'm sure there are going to be people on both sides of the aisle as far as what that will materialize to. But in the near term, I think that's the level for the VIX that you want to get it below. Otherwise, there is definitely some headline risk tomorrow. Whether that results in a crush in volatility or an increase in hedges into the event, I guess we'll just have to see. But yeah, I guess tomorrow is officially the deadline, so we'll know where everybody stands at the end of the day, if nothing else. But yeah, let's see what we get, guys. I'd love to know what y'all are thinking. It's kind of funny to say that a day where the Nasdaq was up 4 to 5% is kind of a quiet day relative to what's happened over the last few sessions, but I feel like it's kind of appropriate today. What do you guys think about what we're seeing right now, and how are we doing?
Hello, guys. Well, the market's probably waiting for the decision, right? We had the initial bounce, which printed lots of great daily closes across the board, holding the range, holding the important levels. We saw that fake announcement of the 90 days postponement of those tariffs, which is something that the market clearly wants, clearly would be bullish on it. But now is waiting if we actually get it. If we don't, then you're facing recession, true one. So let's hope we get it.
I mean, that we could end the show right there. I mean, that's you summed everything up. That's all that we need. Not even really joking. It's the market is certainly sitting there waiting for tomorrow or the remainder of this week to play out, right? We're seeing some unfortunate language between Trump and China right now, where China is apparently willing to go the distance with Trump, which is not good for all of us. And I guess we'll see who bends the knee first, but we talked about this yesterday, where ultimately what it comes down to is there's three parties involved here. There's Trump negotiating on behalf of the US. There's other countries and their leaders countering whatever Trump is doing. And then there's Jerome Powell and his constituents. Somebody needs to bend the knee if we're going to go up here. Either we need to walk these tariffs down aggressively. We're going to need to see a lot of negotiations, which at this point, I think China is really the domino to fall, right? I think Trump has come out and been like, we're not offering any concessions right now. And I think he's intentionally doing that until he gets the big one, China. I think if China bends the knee and works with Trump, then you're going to see concessions across the board and we're going to rip. If no concessions are made and we don't see these tariffs get walked down at all, it's a horrible, horrible situation. We're beyond cooked, just being honest about it, like it is what it is. So we need either Trump to walk it down and kind of like call his own bluff. We're going to need other countries to concede, specifically China, or we're going to need to see some more pain here and then Powell steps in to do something, right? But I view it as simple as that. There's three parties and we need one of the three parties to do something. And right now, nobody's done anything. So we're not going to do anything or see anything until somebody bends the knee. And I don't know who it's going to be. I have a feeling it's not going to be Trump because I think he's stubborn and I think he has a bit of an ego. But I hope that Trump's ego is perhaps more aligned with, stock market performance, liquid asset performance, and measurable financial prosperity than it is being the toughest world leader, right? We know he swings the biggest stick. He's president of the strongest country. But ultimately, we'll see if he's willing to literally crater global markets and not bend the knee, because it kind of comes down to that, right? Like somebody needs to budge here, and there's three parties at play. So I think there's probably going to be just more hedging and de-risking going into tomorrow. And then the thing that's going to send us higher is that there's a last minute de-escalation. So.
Yeah, from a technical standpoint, I would say it's very normal for price to come back on lower time frames and retrace some of that bounce, some of that wick. Nothing to be scared of. What's again going to be important is what happens tomorrow and where we close the week. So pretty uncertain waters. I still hope, just like any of you, that the deals are made, or at least they get negotiated. And honestly, with where VIX, traded yesterday, I think that is likely the case where things come down for the next month or two. But then obviously, that will be telling. So.
Yeah, I think two things I definitely want to talk about today. First, we should definitely discuss the U.S. relationship with China. Obviously, some of these Chinese equities a little bit more, the yuan, and kind of everything in between. But I also think on the topic of somebody bending the knee, because I really think that's, what is going to shift the trend that we've had since the beginning of year in equities. It's going to require a shift in economic or monetary policy to some degree, right? It might not be QE, but at the very least, you have to see rates come down. Maybe it gets accompanied with QE in the right conditions. I guess we'll just have to see stealth QE, whatever. I'm not gonna bet on QE, but I am gonna bet on probably the fact that interest rates are likely to come down. This is something that we were discussing last week. I think there's technical precedence for it. And I think that is going to be very important. The question is, how is it going to happen? Because Powell clearly does not seem to be proactively accommodating, which I understand to a degree, because if tariffs are going to be inflationary, you don't want to cut rates too soon and then have inflation, all the work that they've done with inflation kind of be undone. But at the same time, we look at something like the MOVE index. It's up another 10% today. At what point does that get high enough that it kind of forces Jerome Powell's hand? And I think part of that too is that's really been the only time the Federal Reserve will act, is when there is stress in the bond market, when there is stress on some of these banks. And I almost wonder if that is the current administration's plan, is to force the Fed's hand to cut rates when we have bond volatility that gets so extreme. And in that case, you don't have to blame it on the administration. You just blame it on Jerome Powell. Like, yeah, this guy cut rates, not me. Or this guy printed more money, not me. And yeah, it is just very much like this this standoff between these two parties, because I don't think either of them want to be blamed for the resurgence of inflation.
I think whatever happens, he will blame it on Biden anyway, and then maybe the rest.
I kind of agree with that. Honestly, I think any move down in markets is definitely going to be blamed on, and they'll use the verbiage of the people who are in power before me, right? People like Yellen, Biden, etc. But I agree. I think it'll be blamed on anybody but the current admin.
Of course.
I mean, I don't hate the local setup here, right? It's just so obvious that we're not going to get anything. Like, it's just a waiting game.
Today
like, we're holding this rolling VWAP, the yearly rolling, which is super important for now. If we look at it kind of by month, right? So we look at, we'll look at like the previous month range. Let's hide all this. Here's your previous month range. Like, I love that you dipped into your rolling VWAP. You got a pretty clear like March range right here. It's certainly possible that just ignoring headlines, just looking at technicals, either you come back, tag range low, or even sweep the low, and then move up. Like, that wouldn't be shocking, just like ignoring all the news, stuff like that. But I mean, I'm not shocked to see this level suppressing price for right now, right? That's not surprising. There's no reason to just like V recover from here yet, but could happen.
What do you guys think that some people are currently looking to buy at like low 60s or low 50s?
What do I think about them?
What do you think about, like, well, not necessarily them as people, but like, what do you think about the take?
I don't think you can go down there, man. I've been saying that for a while, that if you see Bitcoin back in this range, and I'm not talking about like backfilling this inefficiency or something, like if we wanted to dip into here, I think that could be allowed. But I think if you dip too deep into the previous range, then you're probably coming back much lower. I just don't. I mean, you'd be losing such critical, like, high time frame structure here if you were to dip lower. like if you come back in this range, you know, and you're below like here, give or take, I just don't really see you stopping until lower. And
Yeah.
also looking at the rolling VWAP here, it's like the yearly, you know, the blue line. It's pretty significant for every bull market. I've just been watching it. I've been watching it very, very closely. It's like you can dip a little below it, like deviate it, but you can't really spend more than a week chilling around it. Like it's kind of your bull market line in the sand. You know, going back here even to the previous cycle, right? You can deviate below it, that's no problem. But you can't spend time down there. Otherwise, you know, you just lose it and it's over, right? Even going back to like the first cycle, it's so important to maintain in that like yearly volume uptrend, and it just can't be lost. So we're sitting at that level right now, and it's okay. But I think if you lose it, then you probably come down into here, and then your rolling, you know, yearly is going to do this, and you probably get a bounce up into here. And I just don't see how that's not some like, you know, high time frame shoulder with this being, you know, your new all-time high supply, and you're just, you know, in a horrible, horrible spot. So I just don't think we have the luxury of going lower, truthfully. I mean, you could go a little bit, right? We could take out the low that was set, you know, yesterday, but I'm not of the opinion right now that we really have that convenience of going too much lower. How do you feel about it, Jackus?
I feel we cannot even dip down to that little inefficiency that you had shown on like a daily time frame, because that opportunity could have happened, but that had to happen yesterday. Now with this bounce, I don't think that's the case anymore. And if we were to dip down there, then yes, I think again that's recession starting, likely, and that's big of a problem for everyone.
I think I view it as, if it does happen, right, to be calling for those prices on Bitcoin, you're contextually implying a bear market, right, is coming. A recession's probably coming, unless, in my opinion, what caused the event is immediately followed by QE, which is, you know, something that we'd have to feel out. But if the plan is just, you know, to assume that we're going to go that low and then just bounce back with no stimulus, then I don't think that's really gonna. I don't really think that's gonna be how it plays out in practice. I think there is precedent for the market structure, though, in both ways. You know, if you're kind of viewing Bitcoin like a proxy for excess liquidity, which I think has consistently been how it trades, whether you want to view it as a commodity or tech beta or both, right? It's pretty clear that when there is excess liquidity in the market, it finds its way into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin outperforms. And I think that, yeah, if you think there's not going to be any excess liquidity, you know, we were kind of discussing that scenario yesterday, but I think if we do get stimulus, there is precedent for Bitcoin to dip that low and then recover. And I would highlight some of the big bank stocks post-COVID as some of that precedent.
I agree. There's always the workaround of lower interest rates and money printing, right? But then it's like you also listen to what Powell has been saying, and the man doesn't exactly seem super flexible on his position right now. And I wouldn't expect him to be. Like the Fed has never one to come out early and be like, guys, don't worry about it. If something bad happens, we're going to pick up the pieces. Don't even worry about it. They don't do that, right? They come in at the very last second and, you know, save everybody. But there is, of course, it's like QE is basically that kid when you're playing rock, paper, scissors, and you're like, rock, paper, scissors, shoot. And he's like, pickle, it beats everything. It's like, okay, if you get QE and lower interest rates, then we're all good, right? It's the automatic fix. You know, your levels, your analysis doesn't matter because it's manipulation. It's crime. But do we get it, right? Or do now suddenly all parties involved just go, you know what, for the first time in multiple decades, we're going to allow this market to actually be a free market and trade how it should based on policies in place? Or are we going to continue to manipulate it? I don't know. I mean, for self-serving purposes, I'm like, yeah, keep the manipulation and crime going, right? We want these markets to run higher, but I keep going back to this. Like, there's 3 parties involved. Somebody needs to budge. We need Trump to budge. We need other countries, specifically China, to budge, or we need Powell to budge. If nobody budges, it's ogre.
I mean, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Max. And it's kind of like if there is always a backstop, there's never a backstop in an extent, or to an extent, because if people always know there's going to be a backstop, then nobody is ever going to be acting responsibly. And you have to have, I think, the illusion that there's not going to be a backstop, just so you can prevent probably malicious behavior in the markets from parties that really aren't supposed to be taking on too much risk in the first place.
I don't know if I believe Powell, truthfully.
I don't, because I mean, he has probably played it, given the circumstances that he had, which was probably the toughest in a long while. He played it as one of the best central bankers in a long while. But also at the same time, when we started the rate hike cycle in 2022, he also was beforehand saying that inflation is transitory and that there will be no rate hikes and so forth. And then we had the largest inflation in 60 years and rate hikes. So
Yeah.
he can play the tough guy, but at the end of the day, it will be the bond market telling him what he is going to do, pretty much. The only
Are
thing
you calling Jerome Powell a LARP, Jackus?
not my words. The only thing he can decide not to do is QE. I think I do not think this is going to be a QE cycle, personally. I'd be surprised if they suddenly went on and printed what they did during COVID. I'm just not seeing that anytime soon. That would the only way they do QE would really have to be like people unable to pay off their mortgages and banks collapsing or something like that. But they are not going to do that just because SPX is down.
I think you'd need a much more extreme move than what we've had for QE to happen.
Yeah. I do not even think it's the move. I think what you would really need is credit crisis and Fed coming in to provide the liquidity. But I do not think that's coming anytime soon. So I think the bullish catalyst once again is rate cut for sure. End of QT, but mainly the US setting in those deals. That's needed. If the tariffs are not bullish, but they can be used they can be used as an excuse for those negotiations. If that's the case, then be bullish again. But if they stay as they are or even higher, then that's just recessionary. But yeah, as always, you want to follow the PA. The market is an all-knowing, powerful thing. So I think there is a reason why Bitcoin, for example, keeps holding this level.
Jackus, what are your thoughts on the relationship between the United States and China right now? That seems to be the one that the market cares about the most.
Yeah. It's obviously, it seems like China is the only one not bending the knee. And for the right reasons. I think China is no longer in a position that they would have to kneel down and pray, please don't do this to us. They have lots of deals all around the world and they can, not that it would not hit them, but they no longer have to. They are no longer dependent on the US, in my opinion, and it would hit US more than it would hit China. So, but hopefully, I hope the deal is going to be made. It doesn't have to be a direct one, right? Like China can look to get something, and then US can look to get something else. But some deal should be done that both parties are happy with, and they can brag to their countries that they struck a good deal.
Everybody needs to save face at the end of the day.
They do.
Whether
They
we
do.
make an agreement or not, I think that's the baseline that must be achieved.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at this and I say, all right, like this is some serious demand, right? We spent 8 months, and this is why I'm so firm on like we just can't go lower here. Is this whole volume profile, like there's so much support that was built below us that it's like you just can't like slice into here and get reacceptance. It like this volume cluster, like
Max,
it goes.
I find it absolutely crazy that some people believe we can go below this 7 months long range and be absolutely okay. Like that, never in history has Bitcoin dropped below such a long range.
You just can't get acceptance back into this, man. Like I can't, unless we do this, like Tommy said. If we do VOOM, QE, and then we do that immediately in an instant, COVID v recovery. But it's like
there is precedent for that structure, by the way. Like if we look at big bank stocks after COVID, that is basically what they did.
Should we take a look at them?
I think we should.
Which big banks specifically?
We can look at all of them, to be honest.
Is there one in particular, just to narrow it down a little bit? Is there one in particular that?
No, because I haven't been looking at them quite as much. Like I haven't been really prospecting this scenario as much recently, but I know that the structures exist.
All right, let's look at JP Morgan. You're saying post, like from COVID. Oh boy, yeah. I see what you're talking about.
That is, in my opinion, very different to what's currently happening on Bitcoin. If anything, you've come back to retrace that range that you currently are in, that base. So during the drop, you came back to retrace to it. Or you mean like we get that type of sell-off? Oh, I see.
I don't know if I don't.
Oh, no.
I very different.
I thought you meant that upside and bounce later on. I think this one is totally different because of how the price just went down in a straight line and straight below the low, right?
I do agree with that angle. That's kind of like the part that I'm not really quite on board with. But I think Bitcoin does kind of function very similarly to banks in that they're going to perform the best when there's that excess liquidity. Like they're kind of one of the most sensitive assets. Every time there's any boost in liquidity, the first thing that's going to respond positively are going to be banks, and it's going to be things like Bitcoin.
Plus, there is that contextual thing that lots of people are not implementing, and I think that one is the most important. Is that if you like, look at this structure, all good, but there is one more that's different contextually with Bitcoin. And that's the fact that this range that we see on the left is a range that was next to its all-time high of prior cycle. And that's a big difference, because if you were to break below it, then you're breaking not just below this range, but also below prior cycle all-time highs. And that's the big thing. That's the big problem here. It's not just this range, but where this range is placed.
This 3 drive structure we're putting in right now looks a lot like what we did after the first top last cycle.
I see what you mean. You mean an inverse situation of April 2021?
Yeah. Yeah.
Could
Can
be.
you show that, Max?
It could be, and we do need to see that follow through right now in price. Like, yesterday's daily closes were absolutely amazing, but they've come under the, obviously extreme situations, technical bounce, but also under the circumstance that the tariffs will get postponed by 90 days.
Are you talking about this, Louis?
Yeah.
Oh, you meant this one. I thought you meant the inverse one from April 2020.
Or that. Yeah, but more of this, just because it's it's just looking very, like, I remember that time. Like, that was like, it was over, man. Everyone thought it was over. There was like no way Bitcoin's going to come back. Like 50% down off the highs, bleeding lower, can't catch its footing, and then boom, right? So
The Head and Shoulder boys were out in full force on that pattern, Louis.
that's not even close to Head and Shoulders either. Like, what is that? But yeah, no, I'm seeing a lot of similarities there. And we've talked about the potential 3 drive, right? Like, Bitcoin loves to do it. Bitcoin loves to do it. Each time you bounce, people get excited. Each time you roll back over, people get more fearful than the drop before. More and more capitulations happen on each drop. And eventually, the floor doesn't give out, and you see a nice bullish reaction out of there. And we're actually kind of deviating that VWAP you have there as well, similar to we did there. So whether that means you get one more bleed lower, or this is the 3rd drive, kind of up for speculation. But we're in the area, right? Like, the low was never taken.
One amazing thing I found is that, if you think about it, we are trading at $78,000 for 1 Bitcoin, and people are in like absolute maximum fear. Try telling that to yourself in 2022.
Well, I think I said this after the call yesterday, but it's like, when you really think about it, prices are up a lot in the last 4 or 5 years in markets for people to be panicking this much.
Well, truth be told, ETH is at 2022 lows, basically.
But here's the thing: is we're up a lot in the past few years, but if you account for okay, let's look at it like this. There's also part of a reason why we're up so much in the past 2 years, which is, I should divide that. It's not. Here, actually, let me do this. I was looking at this yesterday.
By the way, there is a very nice video pre-recorded, Max.
Yes. So here's SPX divided by the M2 money supply. So if you look at it like this, if you account for the debasement of our denominator, the US dollar, we're really not up that much. Like we were basically suppressed by this level for like over 20 years, right? Like we dropped below this after the dot-com bubble in 01, and it served as resistance for a long time. And we just flipped it recently, came back, tagged it perfectly. We'll see if that ends up being like a generational, reshove spot. Who knows? But we're really we're not up that much, right? Like I know ignoring the debasement of our denominator can paint a different picture. But when you adjust for this and you take into consideration why it's really up so much, which is, I mean, here, let's just look at the M2 chart below, right? Like, look how much money they've printed during this time, so it's like, yeah, we're up, but we're not really up as, it's like, it's an illusion is what it is. It's an illusion. Bitcoin fixes this, right? Which is why we love Bitcoin. But I would argue we're really not up that much in real terms. Like, has your purchasing power really increased that much, right? And we could even, I've never done this, but maybe we had, adjust this for US CPI as well. Would it be times US CPI? Would it be times or divided by US CPI? I don't know. Let's see.
One thing I want to add to that is that the real return, the real value from SPX is the growth of GDP. If you take out the inflation, and that's approximately 3% a year growth. That's your real return per year. So you like make 10% a year on SPX on average. The real inflation is like 7%, and then you make 3% on the return. Obviously, they'll tell you the inflation is 2, but we know how it works.
Yeah, so this chart, SPX divided by the M2 divided by US CPI. It's like you're basically just like slightly outperforming the debasement of fiat and adjusting for inflation. It's like, are we really up that much, or is it an illusion?
Yeah, you're barely outpacing inflation. I don't even think you are.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at QQQ. I mean, you've been outpacing the debasement of fiat and inflation, but it's like you're not really up that much, like it's just when you really consider like how this index is being priced, it paints a much different picture. And let's look at Bitcoin.
Maybe what I would try to do is like delete the M2 money supply, use US CPI, just times it 2. So like US CPI times 2. No. Yeah. Divide. Yeah, divide that one. The first one needs to be divided. Maybe this could be say is the real return on stocks, more or less.
Why did you multiply it by 2?
Because the real inflation the government tells you is always going to be lower by nature. They will they keep flipping the items in the CPI basket to make the number seem lower than it actually is. The real inflation is usually higher. For example, they used to take beef prices into account, and they said, hey, people are no longer buying beef as much, let's take chicken instead, and stuff like that. It's not measuring the value of houses or cars or stuff like that. So the real like cost of living for you is going to be different than the US CPI. So I just like used number 2 to just multiply it by one more time, but it's not the real number, but it gets close to it.
This is an interesting channel here.
Indeed.
Seems important.
It seems really important. I don't really want to find out what's below this channel, I'll be honest.
Armageddon. That would not be good, though. SPX US CPI. I'm gonna have to type that into mine.
Seems important. We'll see how important here soon. Man. Oh man, and the middle line too. Oh boy. Look how clean that is. Why is that so clean?
Max,
Chef.
I have something to show.
Tired of outdated trading tools, confused charts, dozens of tabs, endless stress? You're not alone. Introducing BB Terminal, your all-in-one command center for crypto trading. Track your portfolio, monitor the markets, stay ahead, all in one place. From chaos to clarity, from struggle to success. BB Terminal.
Boom.
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 I learned how to do it.
Well, clearly this channel is significant. A little too clear.
Every time we're at that lower boundary, it's a screaming buy.
It has been going back to 2009. See if there's any. Let's see if there's any other. Not quite as clean, but clean.
Yeah, I mean, this tells you everything. You basically need to hold here, and if you don't, you are heading into a long period of stagflation and recession. Recession, then stagflation.
Whew. That would suck.
That would
Yeah.
suck. Nobody wants to see that, so Mr. Trump, make those deals before it's too late.
I read a really interesting piece by Ray Dalio yesterday, kind of discussing everything. It's really not about the tariffs. It's just kind of an inevitable restructuring of the global economic order that happens about once every 100 years. I guess that makes us lucky, or not, depending on your perspective.
So, what takeaways did you take from it?
Just that these changes were kind of inevitable because the West is, I mean, so much of kind of what's been driving the economy is just pure
Delete
debt.
that. That upper line, delete. Anyways, continue. Tell me.
Dude, look at this fucking line, though. Oh, God.
Oh. Turn it off.
Why is it working?
It's even more over than previously thought possible.
Why is the middle line so perfect?
That's clean.
Why is the top line so perfect?
Break it.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
Is it the same if you delete the 2?
Delete the 2.
Yeah, the ×2 on US CPI. I suppose it should be just more vertical. Sorry, just just more vertical. Yeah.
Well, if anybody needs any golf lessons, just let me know. $60 an hour. I'll get your handicap down a few points. Just let me know. All right. Hit me up. Very responsive. Be happy to work with you on your short game. Whatever you need. 60 an hour. Do virtual golf lessons.
Well, maybe we break out. Never know.
You didn't sound very confident when you said that.
I feel like markets are at an inflection point where policymakers have to decide whether or not they want us to melt higher at the expense of our currency, or whether they're going to effectively cause deflation and try and, kind of avert the inevitable or really just kind of this constant path that we've been on, just printing more money, issuing more and more debt. I guess it's deciding between two evils at the end of the day.
No, wait, Tommy, didn't you hear that if Trump wasn't in office, everything would have just went on to being great? Didn't you hear that?
Yeah, this was inevitable.
No,
it's
that's
kinda
coke,
like,
dude. That's
it's kinda
coke.
like pick your poison, I think.
Are you guys looking at this trend? Like, look at this channel.
Max is love.
I'm in shock that this is. I just genuinely can't believe the interaction on this chart.
We've never double tapped it like this at the highs, though. Like, are we going to get an extreme, like, break of the boundary, flip it into support?
I mean, I just I've actually never seen such a high time frame CPI anything adjusted pair chart do this. I'm astonished.
Well, I mean, I think the two periods that we have within this channel are useful data points, right? Like, do we see equities go sideways in the 60s to the 80s like we saw obviously with stock indices during that period, or do we see them go maybe a more sinister move like 2008? I think it's completely up for debate, and it's going to be very path dependent ultimately. But I mean, this goes back to something that Jackus has talked about, right? If it's the 60s through the 70s all over again, well, that was the decade of commodities. It was a decade where people who could pick individual names consistently did really, really well. And I wonder if what happens is not full-blown QE, but kind of like just enough stimulus to prevent true like deflationary crashes and those issues from occurring, but not enough to break this out of the channel. So the result is entrenched inflation. But that is just purely speculation on my end.
Bitcoin fixes this.
Yes, it does.
Do my shitcoins fix this also?
Pretty much. Just sit here in silence and look at the Bitcoin chart.
I was
We're at a loss
thinking.
of words.
I was thinking who's going to be first.
We're at a loss of words. What we just looked at.
I wanted to touch one more upon ETH. I literally feel that, you know, if Bitcoin were to lose this level, that would be bad. But I think if ETH were to lose the current level, it would be over for it.
Should we look at it?
Let's look at it.
Yeah.
By the way,
We also have 2 super chats, so we could go
yeah.
to those next.
I was gonna say. Thank you, Joe. And he says, hi, BB team. What's the level on ETH to cut and never touch again? What would that mean for Pepe? So for me, the ETH level to not ever touch again is if we were to lose 1500 on a weekly closing basis. And yeah, that's basically where we are. So if we were to lose that level, you're kind of looking at never touching ETH again. What would Pepe do at that point? It's hard to say. The first question comes into mind that would not be good. That said, I know Wintermute was buying Pepe. So maybe there's hope still. Maybe it rebrands to Bitcoin ecosystem. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, this is something I've been saying for a while regarding ETH, and the problem with it is that, you know, when people in TradFi and when they buy Sailor stock, he then uses it and goes and at least buys spot Bitcoin with it. So you have the alpha that's going up, which is spot Bitcoin, but it kind of works together. But the problem with ETH is that if you, whatever beta coin you buy, you know, or whatever, you're not leveraging the strengths of the ecosystem onto ETH, and there isn't much need for people to buy spot ETH. We still love to chart it, and because it tells us the direction of the shitcoins, but I think the fundamental issue for ETH is that nobody wants to hold it. I think the staking ETF could change things, but I think you ideally need some protocol change or something.
Well, there is an upgrade coming, right?
It's actually May 7th, I think.
So in about a month.
What does it change?
No one knows.
No, Keck actually tweeted about it. It was quite informative. Let me see if I can find it. I'll read it off my phone. But it sounded, you know, I mean, listen, I'm not going to bank on it, but let's see. Hold on. If I could find this tweet. Okay. May 7th, Pectra upgrade goes live, same day as the FOMC meeting next month. This could be a great catalyst for ETH. Pectra aims to improve the efficiency, security, and scalability of the network. EIP-7251 raises this cap on a validator's effective balance to 2,048 ETH from 32 ETH. Expect lower gas fees and more stable network as institutions will be able to stake larger amounts.
I think what ETH is battling right now is apathy. There's just not that much interest. It's got TradFi ETFs, but there's consistently not the same bid that there is on something like BTC or even Sol. And I know that you can argue Sol's bid kind of came this cycle because it was Bitcoin's beta. That's typically how ETH has always been viewed. But I think that ETH got so big and primarily outperformed because it was Bitcoin beta. But now it's almost like it's such a large market cap, you can't use it for beta. So now we're looking at it like, all right, so what do you do? Why should I put my money in ETH as a store of value when Bitcoin has proven to be a better store of value than ETH? Or why should I put my money in you to shitcoin when Solana clearly has a better product market fit?
That's exactly it. And what ETH needs is to be leveraging its whole network. But I feel like, although the whole network works pretty well, ETH is not benefiting from it. Like the coin itself, because again, this has been the discussion, or I've been asking this for like, I feel, a year now. Is like, who is going to be bidding ETH if we are all bidding the beta?
Well, I mean, essentially, from what I just read, they're raising the validator cap from 32 ETH to 2,048 ETH. So that's 64 times larger than the current validator cap. So, like, why would they be doing that to such a large extent? And it goes back to staking, right? Like, that, allows big money to come in onto the network, earn yield. I think at the end of the day, it's yield, right? It's all about utilizing the network for a store of value, but also earn yield on your money. That's really what has to happen. And this, I mean, just for, I don't know, I'm on the investment side. I'm a charter, I'm a price action. I'm not a big, blockchain like knowledge, right? I understand the basics, but that would allow big money to come in and set up validator nodes and get onto the network with large size, right? Because if it's 32 ETH as the current cap, like, that's like nothing to big money, right? To big institutions and stuff like that. But if you 64 times it, and then you get some sort of staking approval, it's a saving grace. It's definitely a Hail Mary from here, right? Like, I agree with Jackus, like, if you start seeing ETH below 1,500, it's dead, or it's going to be low for a very, very long time, right? So this is about literally 30 days away. So we will see. I mean, regardless, risk reward as far as a value standpoint, is in the bull's favor here. Yeah, you can't look at this chart and say more straight down, right? Like, sure, it could happen. It's been doing it for 3 months. But I mean, markets don't go down in a straight line, right? It just doesn't happen. So regardless, at these levels, right? I know most people are either holding from higher, they're holding beta from higher, whatever. But looking at it objectively right here, right now, pretty much straight down for the past 3 months. Are you really going to bet on this going much lower from this point? Or are you going to say, okay, mean reversion bounce at a minimum, and then we see, right? Like, I don't know. That's how I'm looking at it. But yeah, you really don't want to see 1,500 lost. We swept that little order block there to the left. Pretty much we erased the entire leg off the bear market lows with the move yesterday. So, like, this is it. This is the line in the sand. Like, it really can't come much lower than this. And it's been way overdue for at least a mean reversion bounce at minimum. So I would still like to believe that's in the cards. But it's been hard to be a supporter and believer on ETH when the chart looks like this.
I think
I
if
feel like
this level, you're going to have just an absolutely disgusting weekly candle.
Yeah, I think if it were over for ETH, then it would not do any bounce. It would just continue to to scale to the downside. And it's kind of, for me, really the line in the sand is right here. As I said, we needed to hold 3K back in January. We have not. That to me was telling that we should revisit these levels, but that's a macro range low, and you need to hold here, because if you don't, you're losing the macro structure, and you cannot have that. So you would probably get some bounces along the way, but that would be about it.
Crazy how Donald sold the top on markets and dumped on his son.
Yeah. Literally.
We're printing a TD17 right now.
That's insane.
What does
Yeah.
that mean?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't, like, this has been very unnatural. Like expecting a balance for the last 2 months was the complete logical thing to look at, even again, like, even if it was a mean reversion balance and we just haven't seen it, like, we haven't backfilled one set of internal liquidity on ETH in like 3 months. You can't even run one local high. You haven't filled one internal FEG at all. Right. So, I mean, it's crazy.
Well,
it's really quite interesting.
From a technical side, that basically is like the recession or death of it, right? When that happens, shit just keeps rolling over and rolling over. But under the circumstance that it's not over, then this literally must be it. You cannot go any lower.
I don't even know what to say about this, man. I can't believe, like, a TD17 on the weekly. Like, we haven't printed a high above a previous close or above a previous open in 17 weekly candles. That's never happened before. Like,
2018 didn't?
I made a custom indicator because, like, I wanted to see when things are like never. We've never gotten a TD17. Like, we've had some 9s, 10s, 11s, 12s, 17. I made this indicator as a joke because I was like, let's just see like things getting pummeled. Never seen this before. 17 weeks.
Usually 9 is the lowest to like the highest it goes.
You'll see some like not like up to 12. That's typically like, I mean, I literally made this. I made it go to 17 as like a joke. I just, that's unbelievable. I mean, like, looking at Bitcoin here, like,
yeah, unless like literally like ETH, everyone thought ETH was, like the Google, and it's really Netscape, and there's another L1 blockchain that takes ETH's place. That's the only, if it doesn't get saved here at these levels, like, but I mean, I'm betting on this thing being saved, right? I'm not giving up on it just yet, but it's getting very, very, very close to the point where I cannot, ethically still support this and say everything's fine,
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say about this thing. There's like no levels anymore. It's just
It's kind of wild.
you need
that
to
he
see
just
something
does that.
miraculous, I don't know. There's nothing else to.
Well, again, this must be it, right? Like, if you are going to look back on, like, if we are truly bottomed here, which we totally could be, then you will look back at this and say, yeah, that was the higher time frame range low retest, right? But you cannot be trading below it. You just can't.
It's funny how ETH is such a piece of shit that it might make GCR wrong on a long-term forecast for like the first time ever. But that alone makes me think, well, maybe it's bottoming. I guess we'll just have to see. I don't know. I am not really. It's just very difficult for me to be bullish on ETH with the current market structure. It needs time before anything at this point.
Yeah.
Even if it's cooked, I would like to think that this level gets retested. But
if we were to bounce, it'd probably be into there, and then it's like hold your breath. It's either we miraculously get back above it, it's a Hail Mary, and we're saved, or that's the bounce you get out, right? So,
or do we literally just say fuck it and take out the low from the bear market?
just go all the way down.
I've kind of been asking myself that question.
Yeah, like
I
at
hate
this
to even
point,
consider it, but it's like, why not at this point? You know, like what are we like? What if it just does this, and then like actually goes on a ripper or something? And here's the thing: if it does come down here, I feel like you need to just like shove it, just in case, you know.
The thing is that if it loses this level, it truly does go that low. But if it goes that low, it doesn't come back because you've lost the 4-year range. You know, this whole time from 2021 becomes a distribution, basically.
Well, you could maybe view it like
and the one who was distributing was the East Foundation.
I mean, you could maybe view it like, you know, if this is just a giant range, then bid the range low or something. Or here we could
the more I think about it, the more funny it is. Listen, boomers use their summer part-time job and bought houses and stocks and made millions, and millennials and Generation Z tried the same luck with crypto and they lost their parents' money.
I can't believe ETH's back down here. It's almost comical. Like I have nothing to even say anymore. It's just I can't believe it's down this low. That's crazy.
And honestly, the good betas have been like you've been better off in beta for the past like 3 months.
Yeah.
It's literally holding up better than ETH itself. Like
Yeah, way better.
Like that doesn't make much sense to me either. Like what what is going on? Like it doesn't make sense. Like it really doesn't make like there's more sell pressure on the L1 than there is on the betas that are on the chain. Like make it make sense. You know, make it make sense. I know we did see like big forced liquidations yesterday on ETH though. Like a couple $100 million worth of, you know, people that have been multi-year positions, like having to be forced sellers and getting liquidated on like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of ETH. So
on Maker, I saw that one.
Yeah. And there was another one I saw too. It was like for 150 mil. I mean, normally when you get those forced selling, right, those forced sellers, you know, usually buying into somebody's, you know, a big forced seller, you know, usually gives you a premier entry. But I mean, we saw that a couple months ago as well, and we've just been continuing to slide. So we'll see. But
this is the only hopium that you can get, is that you are literally right now on this sweep.
Yep.
You know, you've just undergone. This was also, you know, 2008. The Wix was also insanely high at the time. Maybe. I can try it like this. If it ever loads up. You know, Wix was also above 60 at that time, just like now, which is a historical situation. So and obviously they are not identical, but also kind of are. What you do need is this, literally. Hold here on this sweep. You know, you can do like this little one, maybe.
This will be a crazy video if that plays out in hindsight. We have to remember this day. at the bottom if that happens.
This is a great fractal,
Yes.
honestly.
It's a great fractal, but it's just like it's so hard to be optimistic when it looks like this, man. It's just like, and I guess Amazon holders at the time were probably feeling the same way. They're like, "Who's
Yeah.
gonna buy books on the internet? What a stupid idea!"
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like at that time, people always think that way. Like just remember of Big Short. Oh my God, Mom! It's like end of capitalism. You know, you need to buy food and stuff. It's all ending, and that's kind of how people saw it here too. But again, it must come from here. You cannot, be breaking lower because like there's plenty of companies that broke lower. If you were to break lower here, that was the end of it. There's plenty of companies that went bankrupt that didn't hold their levels. And the same thing here is for ETH right now. So it really must start reclaiming these levels. I think it's not that far actually from confirming this, I think if you reclaim 1800 from a daily perspective, then that leads you to the reclaim of this level, and at that point you're above here, and it's kind of on. But yeah, it depends. Is Trump going to implement the highest tariffs tomorrow in history? Well,
Do you think the market's already pricing that in? Like we already are expecting that,
Yes.
and anything off of the expectation would send us higher.
Yes.
I kind of feel like the market's still chud jacking.
I think the market doesn't know. I think nobody's really knows what to expect, and it's kind of like
I mean, a 20%
where-
drop on the S&P in like what, 2 or 3 weeks? That's like an exponential price in of the worst case scenario. I mean, sure, we can go a little lower, right? But
where is
like,
ICT when you need him, man? I need to know the secret plan.
This is amazing.
Is it the same percentage?
Literally.
All right, so either shove
65%.
here and just pray, or it's completely over forever.
yeah, no, we're in
Not
Hail
bad
Mary territory.
validation, that's the thing.
It's not 1% different. I've literally used
That's
the high.
insane.
Jack, send me this so I can tweet it out and get a bunch of likes and stuff, okay?
Sending it.
That's insane. And
Okay,
I've
so
been
all we have to
expecting
do
this
is
just
shove
from a
our
little
entire net worth here with like a 1% invalidation, and we'll be billionaires.
Don't tweet it. They're saying it's
Well, the thing is, it truly it's very nice, and it could play out that way, but it means nothing unless we get the bounce that we need from here.
I'll tell you what, if ETH is gonna move from here, it is gonna be a rally that looks like that, and it's not gonna give you entry. Like people are out, people are sidelined, they've given up, and if it starts moving like Amazon does, like that would make the most sense. It's gonna give you zero entry until we're almost back to range highs, and you get maybe a couple weeks on a small pullback to get in.
So, Louis, what you're saying is that the zero bounces to get out is going to be the inverse this time. 0 drops to get in.
Yeah. Yeah. That
It's
means markets are very
literally
unforgiving.
minus 65.7% on both. Oh my God. It's like,
I think Jack has just cracked the matrix. Right here. Is ETH Amazon or is ETH Netflix? I mean, Netscape.
ETH is a steaming pile of dog shit, Louis.
But it's our steaming pile of dog shit.
Dude. I had low hopes, but not this low.
I think the only difference is that Amazon didn't go above this high here. That's like the only thing I can. Oh. There are minor differences, but
It's never perfect, but it's pretty damn good.
The ETH to 0 sticker in the Discord is way funnier as a as a like a ironic meme.
Yeah, it's It's aged quite well. Let's put it that way.
Ha ha ha! So much funny.
So much
Yeah, we're all having a great time. So fun.
He needs
I don't even know what to say, man. It's just over. It's just
This is it. This is it.
it's either here or you bid the double bottom for a dead cat, and that's it.
Yeah.
Jackus, you don't think there's any possibility that we could make a
No.
double bottom on ETH? No chance?
Double bottom, like here?
Yes.
No, that's over. Like you
Well,
lose this level,
Over in what capacity?
like you never bid ETH again. Like it cannot happen again. If you are going lower, if you are losing this level, that to me means you're going down here. And at that point, you might get a bounce, maybe to the levels where we are at the best, and then you're all over again. Study Tezos.
Can you imagine if ETH actually dies, man? Like, do you know how many like hundreds of billions of stable coins and like DeFi and everything? I mean, it's
Well, that's
Yeah.
the thing is stable coins could still exist with ETH at basically any price.
so
They
ETH only
will
exists to serve the stable coins,
they will exist on Tron network.
dude.
It'd
I
be
don't
more
want to.
bearish
I'm
on
done with crypto
USDC.
if that's happening, Jackus. I don't.
It'd be
wanna-
more bearish on USDC because Coinbase is now invested so heavily in ETH. But Tether would be
that's-
fine in my opinion.
Tether would be fine.
Are they
If
gonna
Justin's son ends up like outliving ETH, that would be so funny.
Yeah, that was not on our bingo cards, was it?
What is Tron doing today? Or really like this
it's
last
holding
week?
up, man. It's holding up good.
My God, that is the most crime-ridden chart.
I still think it pops. Obviously, when I'm not in it anymore. But
I
Still
don't
think
know
it
what to
pops.
make of that one.
yeah.
No clue what to make of the Tron chart.
Is there a way to just keep the percentages here?
And no line.
Now the
Click to-
line is fine, but get out of.
Oh,
no, you
no,
can't,
no,
you
there's
can't get rid
not.
of the coordinates. It's stupid.
No, there's not. It's
yeah, I've
annoying.
tried. It makes it ugly.
Because I feel like people don't really see that with all these numbers. Like you clearly know what you're showing. You're showing the percentages.
You could
but
draw a
people-
text box, Jackus. So like just draw a box and then label manually the percentage in there. I've done that before,
Yeah, but it seems fake.
but it's not fake. They can check it. It's real. And then you just put the text below it when you type it.
Jack is just cooking up his tweet for later.
No. So Jackus, click the type in the box,
Oh, I see what you mean.
and then you could just put it below, and then
You
do
just-
bottom and then center for the text alignment.
You just have to type in wrecked.
I feel like
Do center. Not right. Yeah, there you go.
I feel like I like this little 0.03% difference. Like someone can jump into the comments and say they are not the same. I always love these people. Like you can literally, you can draw a box, and then you will draw the literal same box, but it will be like 1 millimeter different, and they will come to your comments and be like, they are not the same. You're clearly missing the plot here.
So just in 3 minutes ago, White House says 104% tariffs on China went into effect at noon today.
104%.
104%. What the fuck?
China will respond by taking Taiwan.
So now we voted for the man who said he was pro crypto and we're going to get so sick of winning. And all we got was a trade war with specifically just China, the most important one. And China's then going to retaliate by invading Taiwan. And now we voted for tariffs, economic collapse, and war. This is going swell, my friends.
This accelerates hyper Bitcoinization. Phew.
It's true.
I'm dead serious.
Like I said, guys, if you need any golf lessons, just send me a DM. It's going to be great. If your kids need golf lessons, I'm great with kids. I have my own kid. We'll get them all squared away, give them a good chance to be on the tour. All right.
I should own more Bitcoin.
You say you want golf lessons, Tommy? What was that?
I said I should own more Bitcoin.
Oh, I thought you said you wanted to buy a package of 10 for golf lessons, but maybe I misheard you.
Well, I'm also worried, you know.
You want golf lessons, Jagus? What was it?
Let's do golf lessons.
I'm just trying to hustle some golf lessons, man. I need to scrape together some money. At least I'm too old to go to war. You know, like I'm like, you know, I'm 29 years old. Like they want the 18-year-olds. So like if they end up drafting Americans to go fight China, at least, you know, at least I can sit at home and watch on TV. They don't want me anymore, man. I'm past my prime, you know.
I want to say once you turn 27, you can't get drafted anymore.
Oh, you're cooked. You're cooked, Tommy. I know you're injured right now, but
I got 11 days and I'm safe.
Oh,
Tommy,
11 days too late.
maybe eat bottoms on your birthday.
Just don't start a war in the next 2 weeks, please.
It just started.
It also, I don't think it would be war with China. It would probably be war with Iran.
Yeah, I'm good though either way. Like I'm past my prime. They don't want me anymore. So I mean that's the good news is that I can be poor at home. Maybe I could open up one of these factories that Trump wants to see. You know, he's been so hot on these factories. I could be like a floor manager at like a sock factory or something. Or maybe, you know, we could package canned goods to send to our troops when we're defending Taiwan against China in the imminent invasion. So
I think we'll just let them take Taiwan, personally. But
so instead of the escalation, we got 100% tariffs. All right.
No. 104% tariffs, Jackers.
Plus additional coming later.
that's wild, honestly.
You know, at first I thought I was like, you know what? I think Trump might have a plan here. And I'm starting to think just maybe that he doesn't actually have much of a plan. He's just kind of like, we're going to just squeeze them so hard until they pop and they have no choice but to concede. And I think that's the extent of the plan.
It seems my generational entry on Alibaba was not, in fact, generational.
Let me see. Baba.
China
boy.
trade is dead.
Turns
My
out
spot is still up pretty decently on it. Like somehow 15 to 20%. But yeah, the calls I bought, I've written them off. They'll help
calls
reduce
are
my
fried.
tax liability next April.
My
Well-
spot is up too because we were buying like very low, but obviously unpleasant to see right now.
look at the Hang Sang, huh?
My fear with the China play, I kind of communicated it a few times, was that maybe China, this is like the echo bubble for China stocks before the real cycle, you know, similar to tech stocks in 2000 to 2008. But if China stocks make new lows, that would actually like really, really shock me. I don't think that that's going to be the case. I adhere to the notion that the next bull market will come from Asia.
Well, this looks almost as cooked as ETH right now. Everything, bro.
Markets turned to scam and a full blown. What is it? That copy pasta. Hold on, let me.
Bitcoin trying so hard to hold up here.
What is that copy pasta?
It's time to end the show, guys. It's time to end the show. Time for me to have some lunch and get prepped for the Andy Wolf space on today's market. So
Do you do you have a pre-recorded video about golf lessons?
yeah, today we're gonna talk about your low irons, mastering the 8-iron through the pitching wedge with Max.
Golf Arc reinitiated.
60 for an hour, or if you buy a package of 10, it lowers it to 40 an hour. So just let me
Golf
know.
Arc marked the lows last time, Max.
Yeah. Maybe I'll blow the space off and go to the driving range today. I don't know. Maybe that'll be the bottom.
When you go golfing, it usually is the bottom.
Should I go golfing today?
Yes.
So traveling is dump and golfing is the bottom. Dude, what are you even doing here?
When I start like caring about my
Start
golf game again
swinging.
because work is so bad, then usually we bounce.
That makes sense.
All right, we got to end the show. Guys, we're not telling you about our products today because everyone's poor, but check out BB Terminal. See you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.
See you guys.